Hello and welcome, everyone. We are delighted to have you with us today. And we know there are participants from different parts of the world. So, whether you're joining us live today, right now, or watching later on, thank you. Thank you for being with us with this journey. And thank you for being also here present, listening to yet another session of the Spiritist Talk series promoted by the United States Spirits Federation, held every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It is my great pleasure to host today's talk, which will be presented by Lia Gouveia, who will be speaking on a very interesting topic. Peace in the way. So let us all give Lia a very warm welcome. And before we begin, please allow me to briefly introduce her. Lia is an active worker of the US Spiritist movement. She is also a board member of the Spiritist Society of North Beach, Maryland, since its inception. Well, not inception, but incorporation in 2009. Currently, Lia is serving as president of the society, and professionally, Lia manages enterprise application and holds a Bachelor of Computer Science. Please feel free to use your questions at any time, to send us your comments or your feedback doing throughout the presentation. And you can do that by using the chat window. Leah has set aside some time at the end of the presentation today, our time together to address your comments and questions. Leah, good morning, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, Marcia. Good morning, everybody. It's such a joy to be here among dear friends. I was so happy when I saw Marcia would be my host, and we have Daniel, Luis on the background, all great workers, and I feel truly honored to be here to give my contribution. So, peace is the way. This is a very important topic for reflection of this morning. And Marcia mentioned the beauty of this image. I know this represents winter, and we are in the transition here in where we are. I'm talking from Virginia, USA, from summer to fall. But when I created this presentation, the idea was not only to share beauty with you, but the idea that we need to melt our hearts, to defrost the hardened hearts that we have, and really find more peaceful ways to live together. Starting with peace in us, inside of us, solving our own inner conflicts, and after start spreading this peace around us to the next ones, and then in a ripple effect, hopefully reaching more and more people and the entire world one day. So peace is the only way for us. And another comment I had once I was putting this presentation together, well, you're going to talk about peace and you start sharing a sword. Yes, because a sword represents division, represents violence, represents polarization. But the invitation is really to transform that into something else, something different. And I think this quote or passage found on the book of Isaiah, which is part of the Old Testament or the Hebrew scriptures, books. Isaiah was a prophet of the Old Testament. And as a prophet or a medium at the time, he brought that prophecy to us that we truly believe is going to happen. He stated, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks," meaning, and here we have this beautiful sculpture also showing that we need to transform our swords or our weapons in different types of instruments, um, changing from violence and wars into labor, into useful tools, into different ways. Um, we understand that we are far from reaching this point, but we need to start somewhere. And the way we are starting is sharing with you this concept of this idea that we do need to make our part to find peace inside and outside. And he continues, one nation shall not raise the sword against another, nor shall they train for war again. It's a prophecy, it's going to happen. It is in our hands to pave the road. Think about it in your day to day. How can you transform inner conflicts, exterior conflicts, into something different, in more tolerance, into more patience, more understanding, putting yourself on someone else's shoes, understanding the background of people, their level of understanding, their level of intellectual, emotional moment, right? So put yourself into the other person's shoes and do not try to impose your ideas or to convince people. Exemplify, live accordingly to your values, to the Christian values, to the Spiritist values. And we are going to see here on this presentation by bringing passages from the Old Testament or from Moses, the first revelation, and after from Christ, the second revelation, and after from the spirits, the third revelation, that they are all complementing each other. And about this subject is very clear. We should not kill. When we kill someone, we are inflicting a divine law because we are all brothers and sisters, children of the same God, this unique God that now we understand it's a God of goodness, of mercy, of justice as well. And that this God created all the divine laws, all the laws that we study in our sciences, but all the moral laws that we have to study, learn, and apply in order to live well with one another. So the invitation of this morning is, what can you do to live more peacefully inside and outside? How to avoid conflicts, And by saying avoiding conflicts is not to do your part to change the world, because there are many things that we need to change in our world. But again, it's not by imposing, it's not by spreading hate, it's not with division. It is really by working together, collaborating with one another, that we are going to transform our world. It's by spreading love, fraternity, solidarity, understanding, and these beautiful concepts that we learn, and we have been learning through, decades, centuries, thousands of years, that we need to understand that if we kill today, we are inflicting a law and we need to repair that. Okay? So, like I mentioned, I started with the Old Testament, and now I'm going to bring a passage from Jesus, and it's clearly that he condemned violence. On this passage, you can see it's you have Peter, his disciple, and Malcolm. In the Garden of Olives, did Christ not tell Peter, put your sword back in its sheath, because those who kill with the sword shall die by the sword. What he's stating here, do not apply violence. And if you use violence, you are going to get violence in return because of a natural law, which is the law of cause and effect, action and reaction, the boomerang effect. And if you are familiar with this passage, you can see not only Christ rebuked Peter not to use violence, and Peter was trying to defend Jesus, right? Because it was the moment that the guards came to take Jesus, in the moment he was betrayed, right, on the passage. And Jesus not only condemned, but he cured the ear of Malcolm that was cut by the sword of Peter, showing to us that, look, I'm here, Jesus, to exemplify to you how you should behave with one another. With these words, does Jesus not condemn dwelling forever? And when we study dwelling on the Spiritist literature, the first time I was thinking about dwelling, I said, oh, we no longer have duels. Because remember, when you look, you read books that you can see that it was very common for people to leave their homes, with swords, with knives, with weapons. And it was very common to have duels to honor, in the name of honor. But if we progress a little bit and we do not have this type of duels, we have other types still, right? We have verbal duels, we have thought duels, we do have physical duels, which is when we fight with one another, And what is the war? The war is a collective duel. We even duel virtually, and we can kill people not only with weapons, but we can kill people by the way we talk to them, the type of words we use. We can kill dreams, we can kill self-esteems, we can humiliate people. All these are ways that we need to learn how not to do. The invitation is to find this inner peace and express this, in our environment. In fact, my children, what courage is this born of a violent, bloody, and wrathful temperament that rants and raves at the first offense? Here is talking about the duels, right? Where is the greatness of soul of him who at the least offense wants to wash it with blood? Let him tremble, because in the depths of his conscience a voice will always cry out to him, Cain, Cain, what have you done to your brother? This is another passage found on the Old Testament, the two brothers, right? Cain and Abel. And Cain killed Abel on this passage because of jealousy, right? Because the brother, he thought the brother was privileged by God, by the offerings he gave to God. We need to understand that the Old Testament, specifically all the old scriptures, they are very symbolic. There are a lot of little stories for the children we were, and many are still are, to understand. So we need to understand the symbolism behind and do not really take this literally, right? So again, we are brothers and sisters, and there is a beauty to be all different. We can see that diversity is part of nature, you know. We see diversity in flowers, in plants, in animals, in human beings. We are all unique. And don't you think this is beautiful to be unique? But yeah, it can create a lot of friction. Yes, it is exactly why we need to learn how to live with one another. We need to polish each other, you know. He will tell this voice, it was necessary to spill blood in order to save my honor. However, the voice will reply to him, you wanted to save your honor before men for the few moments that remain for you to live on the earth, but you did not think about saving it before God. You may think that this is out of context, but not if you really think about it. We still have many times our pride playing a big role, and it makes us do things in the name of honor, in the name of dignity. No, the invitation is be honored before God. Many times, in order to have peace, we need to close our mouth. We need to face apparent injustices. We need to be quiet. We need to be patient. We need to be tolerant. And this is the invitation. Knowing that there is a law of justice, that we may think it's not taking care of us, but it is. Everything that happens to us, it is for our spiritual growth, and nothing is against the divine laws. If you know that by now, you trust that, and instead of seeking justice with your own hands, seeking vengeance, you are going to trust the divine laws, and you are going to see, okay, if I am facing now the law of return, this brother or sister that is committing all these infractions against the divine laws, they are going to suffer a lot. And I should not wish him to suffer. No, because I need to have compassion. I need to have understanding. What we call evil is the ignorance of the divine laws, is the ignorance of spirituality. It is the ignorance that does not know that we are really part of this divine creation, that we are all interconnected. Therefore, we cannot kill each other. Poor fool, how much blood would Christ ask of you for all the offenses he received? So Jesus did not ask to be defended. He stayed quiet. He didn't defend himself. He faced his trial. He faced everything that happened to him. He let people crucify him, but he was victorious. Why? Because he fulfilled the task he came here to fulfill. And thanks to his behavior, his examples, we are here now trying to follow his steps, and we keep spreading Jesus' teachings and Jesus' examples. And we want to follow this man, that was so aligned with the divine laws, was so aligned with God, that some thought he was God himself. But we know that Jesus is our brother, our older brother. It's a pure spirit. Is someone in charge of our planet, in charge of our evolution, who came here to set an example to us. But why do we still have wars? In the Spirit's book on the law of destruction, we can see this clearly. Question 742. What's the cause that leads humankind to war? the predominance of the animal nature over the spiritual and the satisfaction of their passions, which shows to us, because we still have a lot of wars and conflicts and a lot of polarization, shows that we are still predominant animal, meaning following our instincts, our atavism more than our spiritual side. Therefore, it's very important what we are doing here, spreading spirituality, spreading these concepts, because we do need spirituality. We do need to develop this on people. We need to tell people that there is a God out there, and that all the turmoils, all the wars and conflicts, and everything that seems very chaotic is going to pass, like a thunderstorm, that when we are undergoing a thunderstorm, we can hear the noise, the darkness, we can be afraid, but after it passes, we can see the sun. Many times we can see the rainbow, we can see the clarity of the sky, we can see that the atmosphere is lighter. So it's the same. After all this destruction that we are undergoing, we are going to have a new era coming. We need to trust, and we need to have faith and hope for that, because the spirits are telling us it's going to come. It is a matter of time. And satisfaction of passions. Which passions we are talking about? Everything that it is in extreme, right? Like greedy, the thirst for power, ambition, the idea that we are superior and we want to conquer others, we want to expand, we feel superior, right? It's why pride and selfishness is something that we need to fight. Materialism is something we need to fight. Consumism is something we need to fight. But it's not fighting with swords, it's fighting by showing what we believe, by behaving properly. You know, if we are not peaceful, we cannot talk about peace. It is why it has to start in us. In the state of barbarity, nations only know the right of the strongest. And that's why war is a normal state for them. Yes, my friends, we are still very barbaric. Yeah, maybe we are no longer primitives the way we used to be, because right now we have more sophisticated weapons, not swords, right? But we're still very barbaric. We have a lot of technology that sometimes it makes us very proud. We develop a lot of our intellectuality. All this is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but what is lacking is the second wing now, which is the wing of morality, which is the wing of spirituality, which is the wing of transformation. We need to transform the world by transforming ourselves. As humans evolve, war will become less frequent, since they will avoid its causes. And when it does become necessary, they will know how to make it more humane. Yeah, it's going to happen. 743. Will war someday disappear from the earth? Yes, when men and women understand justice and practice God's law, then all nations will live as brothers and sisters. So the spirits are telling us, yes, it's going to happen, but not without you helping us spread God's laws, spread justice, spread peace. So we need to live what we believe. And as I already mentioned, what are the root of all issues? Selfishness, which is the negation of charity, pride. And without charity, there will be no peace for society. I would state further, there will be no safety. And it's not what we see in a place. And many of us came from countries that we saw that there is no peace, there is no safety while we have injustices, while we have, the concentration of riches. We do not have equal opportunities for everybody. We do not have education. We no longer can exploit people. This was part of our mistakes of the past. You know, we need to build a society that is just for everybody. We need to give opportunities for every human being to live a decent life. And this is not uh, a political speech. No, this is what we learn as Christians, as Spiritists. We need to do our part. And there is no way to build a better world if we do not help build this network of solidarity, of fraternity, of love. With selfishness and pride, which walk hand in hand, life will always be a pathway for the shroudest. We do not want that. So let's start diminishing our own selfishness and pride. And then we are going to give our contribution to the world. Why? Because we are all interconnected, as I mentioned. A conflict of interests in which the holiest affections are trampled on. Yes, when we only think about our personal interests and not the collective interests, we are being selfish. When we think we are superior to others, then we are uh, exercising this negative pride. It's good to be proud of yourself when you accomplish things. This is a positive pride. The bad one is when you think you are superior. But when you recognize your talents, but also your flaws, your imperfections, and you recognize the talents of others, so then you are doing your part. Yes, if we continue this way, and we can see that, even the sacred ties of families are no longer respected. Families are divided. Why? Why we do not have the right to think differently, have different opinions, have different ideas. We can be ourselves, but we need to find ways to dialogue. We need to find ways to respect one another. And if there is no dialogue at this moment, at least close your mouth. Send a good thought for the person, a good vibration. Wait for the right time for these brothers and sisters to realize, that they are against the divine laws. Is a message from Pascal. How about religious wars? Yes, we had a lot of religious wars and misunderstanding. On this passage from Matthew, many people do not understand these words from Jesus. But let's try to explain a little bit. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. How come Jesus, the Prince of Peace, the one who showed meekness, love, compassion, said that? What he meant by that? What does mean this passage? Do not believe that my doctrine will be established peacefully. It will bring bloody battles using my name as a pretext. For humans will not have understood me or you not have wanted to understand me. So, why Jesus said that? Because he, as a prophet, a medium of God, he knew that people would create wars on his name, the same way we create wars in the name of God. And God is a creator for everything and everyone. Of course, there is not a God of war. This is a misunderstanding. Separated by their beliefs, brothers will unsheath their swords against one another, and division will reign in the midst of the same family, whose members do not share the same faith. Don't we see that nowadays? But it can show that we evolved because in the past, we're really killing each other in the same family because of religious separation, because of different beliefs. Right now, we are just canceling someone, removing from the, the WhatsApp group. But still, dear friends, where is our tolerance and patience and consideration? What is more important? The ties with our families and friends, or our strong opinions? Think about that. I have come to cast fire upon the earth to clean it of error and prejudice, just as fire is put to a field in order to destroy the weeds. So, what we see as destruction, many times, it is a transformation, it's a purification. Everything is exposed, you know, which is better because before it was hidden, it was just hypocrisy. Now we can see clearly, but now it's time to change the errors, the prejudices. All the prejudices, they need to fall. And we need to have tolerance in every level, not only religious tolerance, but political tolerance, any type of tolerance. And Jesus said, I desire for it to be lit so that the purification may be quicker. For out of conflict, the truth will emerge triumphant. Peace will follow war. Universal fraternity will follow sectarian hatred. The light of faith will come after the darkness of fanaticism. There is no more time for fanaticism. We are rational beings now. We need to be able to communicate with one another. Then, when the field has been prepared, I will send you the consoler, the Spirit of truth who will establish all things. Dear friends, the consoler is already here. The Spirit of truth already communicated with us. Now we know we just need to live this universal truth. That is, giving to understand the true meaning of my words. More enlightened individuals will finally be able to understand and will put an end to the fratricidal battle that divides the children of the same God. It's time for union, not for division. It is time for light because there is too much darkness there. It is time for peace because we have too many wars. Yes, there is power on new ideas. There is power in love shared by Jesus. It is the power of transformation, of education, moral education, spiritual understanding. Time to wake up our conscience, to expand our conscience. Every new idea encounters a strong opposition, and there is not one that has not been implemented without struggle. The measure of the importance and results of a new idea, therefore, may be found in the excitement that its appearance causes, the violence of opposition it provokes, and the degree and persistence of the anger of its adversaries. It is not what we are seeing, you know, because It reached a time to change. All these old ideas are going to fall, and the evil, the ignorant, they are fighting this as much as they can. But Christ will survive. His ideas will survive, will be spread. And all the Antichrist, all the ones that do not align with the word of regeneration that is coming, you'll be invited to other planets. You'll be invited to help develop more primitive worlds. Jesus came to proclaim a doctrine that would undermine the very base of the abuses upon which the Pharisees, scribes, and priests of his time were living. So they killed him, believing they could kill the idea by killing the man. But the idea survived because it was true. It grew because it was in the designs of God. Spiritism has come at the right time to fulfill the promise of Christ. Be a peacemaker. It is an invitation. How? The new crusade has begun. Apostles of universal peace and not of war, modern St. Bernards, look and march ahead. The law of worlds is the law of progress. Fenelon told us. Be apostles of universal peace. Be modern St. Bernards. Be a peacemaker. Spread peace and work, because we also need to actively do our part to change our world. As we work to create light for others, we naturally light our own way. It is necessary to work for your inner progress and the progress of others. How? Value life, promote life, support life, get involved in your community. Be a true Christian, a true child of God, a true Spiritist. Anywhere you are invited, in your family, in your work environment, in your community. What can you do to help a more peaceful world? Are you just a grain of sand? You feel you cannot do much because there are so many issues out there? The great spirits, the divine messengers, inspire faith so that all of you, enlightened and fervent workers, may make your humble voices heard. For you are only a grain of sand, but without grains of sand, there would be no mountains. So inspire faith, enlighten yourself, work, and then you are going to contribute with the creation of mountains. Hence, the words "we are so small" hold no meaning for you. To each his or her mission, to each his or her labor. We all have different tasks to fulfill, small missions, big missions. Does not matter the size of our mission. What matters is that we are fulfilling our missions, our tasks, and do not be discouraged. We find this message on the gospel saying, even if we are only grains of sand, together we are going to build mountains. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. This is part of the Beatitudes. We are called to be humble, to be meek, to be peacemakers. And there is a science of peace. And this small man showed to us, he incarnated here on this world to show to us that it is possible to resist and to make changes in a peaceful way, applying non-violence. And there is a science out there inspired by his movement to find ways to avoid conflicts, to talk to each other. But in our level, what we have to do, how can we exercise this science? Being patient. Patience, too, is a form of charity, and you must practice the law of charity taught by Christ, the envoy of God. The charity that consists in giving alms to the poor is the easiest of all charities, right? If you have ways to give alms, to give material things, it's very easy, right? But the moral charity is very hard to silence when you want to say something. Be patient, be calm when you suffer an injustice, when someone is violent with you, disrespectful to you. This is very difficult. So there is another kind, however, that's much more burdensome and consequently more meritorious: forgiving those who God has placed on our path to be instruments of our suffering and to put our patience to the test. Forgiveness. Oh, so hard to forgive, dear friends. But the ones that are close to us, exercising our patience, they are instruments of our Creator to make us progress, to make us reach perfection and happiness first. Therefore, we should be thankful for all the difficulties that come to our way. It's not that we have to enjoy suffering, it's not that, but it's to see suffering with different ways as opportunities to educate us spirits, how we can become more resilient, more patient, more calm. How can we develop self-control? How can we educate our emotions? Because it's very easy to react instead of acting. It's very easy to have our animal side, our instincts talking. No, but the invitation is to be rational beings, to be humans, to develop our humanity. Again, he showed to us that it is possible. And this quote says everything. The day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. So, power is one of the human passions. Why we need to impose our power towards others? It says a lot about ourselves. Maybe our complex of inferiority, maybe our ambition, maybe our ignorance about the divine laws, our ignorance that we are brothers and sisters, that we're going to die and leave all the material possessions behind. So what really counts is to be a good person, right? To leave a legacy behind you. Put love into action. This is what is going to transform the world. Peace of mind is the only real happiness in this world. It is in charity that you must seek the peace of the heart, the contentment of the soul, and the remedy for the afflictions of life. Only by exercising charity you are going to find this peace in your heart, in your soul. You are going to calm down your afflictions. So it is by helping others that you are going to help yourself. Whenever you are at the point of accusing God, cast an eye beneath you. Behold how many miseries need relief, how many poor children have no families, how many old people do not have one friendly hand to help them or to close their eyes when death reclaims them. What are you doing? Are you only living a life for yourself or dedicating some time to go and diminish the miseries? Are you putting your love into action? Are you being a volunteer somewhere? Are you sacrificing your time, your energy to help others? We all can do something. And then we are going to find this peace that is promised by Jesus. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and not be afraid. So, the peace Jesus promised to us is not the peace of the world, is not the peace of illusions, is not the peace of laziness, inactivity. No, the peace that Jesus offers is the peace of someone who is aligned with the divine laws, who is doing something to improve themselves and improving the world out there. Jesus' words are eternal because they are the truth. They are not only a surety for life in heaven, but a pledge of peace, tranquility, and stability in matters regarding life on earth. That is why all human, political, social, and religious institutions that are based on his words will be as stable as the house built upon the rock. We need to put love and humanity in all our institutions. And what are the institutions? Are materializations of us humans. Therefore, we need to improve us humans, spirits, and then all our human institutions are going to have, you know, Jesus' ideas of love, solidarity, compassion, justice, on it. People will keep them because they will find happiness in them. Everybody wants to, you know, be happy. We all have the same human needs. We do not need a lot. Once we have the basics fulfilled, after what makes us happy is to give back. Is not the case? So those who are in violation of his words will be like the house built upon the sand. The winds of transformation and the river of progress will bring them down. So, dear friends, the law of progress you keep pushing us to change. Our world you change, our institutions you change. It's up to you and I to change ourselves. And then we are going to find peace on earth. Thank you for your time. Thank you for these reflections together. And I bring my dear friend Marcia back for her considerations, final thoughts, and questions, comments, please.
It's our considerations from all of us who are listening to you live, Leah. But thank you so much. It is such a really urgent talk, right, about peace and all that is between us and peace itself. So thank you for sharing your reflections. But before we start our Q&A, I just wanted to ask everyone to stay tuned for some upcoming events. Everyone, I've done it already. Register now for the 20th US Spiritist Symposium. It is hosted by the US Spirits Federation and will take place in November, specifically November 7th at the AC Hotel, Fort Lauderdale Airport in Dania Beach, Florida. And this year's theme is the compass of for spiritual progress. And if you are interested in registering or getting more information about the talks, the speakers, etc., go to spiritistsymposium.org. We also cordially invite you to the 19th Spiritist Conference of Georgia. It will take place on October 10th and 11th. And this year's theme is the Spiritist view of afflictions. Lectures will be in English and in Portuguese with simultaneous interpretation. There's a discounted registration for, 9 more days, which will be offered through August 31st. And if you are interested or you want more information, go to spiritistconference.com or use the displayed QR code for more details. We also invite you to follow us on our social media channels so that you can stay updated on upcoming events and activities. And please don't forget to visit the US Spirits Federation bookstores. It is a virtual bookstore at spiritistbooks.us, where you can find an amazing catalog, a wide selection of Spiritist books, including several exciting new releases. And if you work with Spiritist youth, or if you're interested in educational resources, explore the Family, Youth, Children Spiritist Education Mouthful, or you can call the Fixie website at spiritismkids.us, where you discover excellent materials and ideas for youth educators. And please take a moment to check out the app Be My Hope, which offers beautifully inspiring daily messages to uplift all of our spirit. It's available, it's free. You can find it at App Store or Google Play. Now, let's turn our attention to your comments and questions. There's still time to send yours, so please feel free to share your thoughts. And Leah, let's go ahead and start with our first one. So, what must change within human beings? So that's a very theoretical framework, philosophical, but let's start there. What must change within human beings so that the conditions that produce war gradually disappear?
Thank you, Marcia, and thank you who put this question out there. It's a greater reflection, right? And as I tried to express during my presentation, everything really starts in us. If
Yeah,
we still have inner conflicts, if we still have violence in us, if we think that we are superior to others, that we know better, if we have this bellicose way of behaving, is going to be very hard to give an opportunity for the other to speak. You know, we
yeah,
need to develop this ability to listen to the other person and reason about it. We can have a debate of ideas, you know, with respect, with consideration. We should be able to discuss ideas, but not to diminish each other, not to fight, right? But in our level of evolution, it's very hard. It needs to be exercised. It's why it is a process. You know,
yeah,
we need to, in a daily basis, exercise more peaceful ways to deal with conflicts, to deal with people, because we do have our past. We still have our animal instinct. And many times, by being attacked, we naturally attack back, right? It is instinctive, really.
yeah,
I feel in danger, it's very hard if someone comes and punches in the face, that you remain calm. You can be in shock, maybe, but it's very, very hard. But the invitation is, if we do believe in all these teachings brought, you know, by different missionaries to us, by the spirits, by Jesus, by the old prophets, you know, we need to do our part. And like I mentioned, we had people, missionaries showing that is possible. Oh, but you can say, Lia, but you are not in the level of Jesus or Gandhi or
Yes.
Martin Luther King, you know.
Mandela.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
Mandela, you
Uh,
know. But like John Lennon, we are already dreamers. We can dream with a better world and start by changing little by little, like the message I brought about the grain of sand,
yeah.
right? Be a grain of sand and know that together we can build these mountains.
Yeah.
So,
You're thinking of songs like John Lennon. I was thinking of Dust in the Wind, right? Just the minuscule aspect of we are. But if I go back, Leah, from what you're talking, your entire talk, peace, war, right? And we often correlate war to something that happens, I don't know, nations, world wars. But as you mentioned, if you look at the roots of all the conflicts, it is really in the hidden things. It's there. We know it's there. The trained eyes, especially, see pride, arrogance, selfishness, fear. Oh, desire for power and world domination. But when I think about it, it is the war is the most visible at the most surface level expression of something that is inevitably shared by all of us, but it's hidden. We hide it from ourselves, right? So let's keep moving. Can violence ever defend peace? Right, which is quite a challenging question. So, love to hear you.
yes, and the spirits tell us that we should always avoid, right, war.
Mhm.
Um, and when it becomes necessary, like if we need to defend ourselves because we
Yeah,
were attacked, you can always do in a more human way, not with the pleasure of killing, not with cruelty, right?
mhm.
So, but there is always room for dialogue when, you know, two people want to have a dialogue. I
Yeah,
remember um, to hear in the past when one person doesn't want to fight, two you not fight, right? So
yeah,
you need to have two sides willing to find a common ground and to discuss ideas and be willing to compromise so we can find a solution that is good for both sides. But if I just want to win and impose my ideas and just want my terms to be, you know, fulfilled, so then there is no dialogue there,
yeah,
right? It's not only about nations. It is, you can talk about our own relationships, right?
yeah,
With
yeah,
our spouses, with our partners, with our family members. If we do not talk, if we are not open to compromise, if we always want our way, so then there is no peaceful way, right?
yeah,
If you want peace, you need to be willing to compromise,
yeah.
to make
I love what you said,
sacrifices.
the message, the listening, right? Before engaging in the fight. And I pretend to be a boxer here, but your thought about the two cannot fight if one, does not want it. The image that came to my mind was a boa constrictor. And I know snakes are really crazy. Many people have fear, right? But a boa constrictor, if you come closer, and even some other snakes, they just coil and move away, right? The threat comes, they go away. It's only when they can no longer run away that they strike back. I'm not talking about when they're hungry, but when there is attack. So I think it's interesting, the idea. What do we need to do if we're trying to defend ourselves from whatever type of attack? So let us all think very carefully. There's another question here, Leah. Go ahead.
Just before you read the question,
Yeah,
since
of
you
course.
mentioned the boa and I thought about the animals, we can learn with
Yes.
them many
Yeah.
things. And one of the things, like, they just attacked when they feel threatened, when they want to defend themselves, or when they are
Yes.
hungry, they need to survive, but they do not attack and kill for pleasure, for
Yeah.
sports, something that
Yeah.
we human beings do because we have our free will, we have our intelligence, and we are
True.
using our intelligence for something bad, you know.
Yeah.
We use our intelligence to build the new ways of killing people, new
Yeah.
weapons. And the message, the first message I brought from Isaiah is, let's transform these
Hmm.
instruments of war into instruments of labor, in
Yeah.
useful instruments, and uh, and have our soldiers trained not to kill but to defend,
To
to
protect.
promote
Yeah.
peace,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help people in need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But sorry, let's go to the question.
But this distinction is quite difficult, as you mentioned previously in the talk, right? Because when we go from war against nations into our own internal wars, it changes how much we see them, and so we have to see that you said it so well. It is all about being able to see our relationships, right, with ourselves, with our closest friends and family members. And but I love what you said. Sometimes the sword, if you will, becomes our ability to use our language, right, to attack, to impose emotional wounds, and to criticize, to diminish. So I think we have to be very careful. Words are something so powerful, right? Like going
Absolutely.
back to Isaiah, let's use that in a good way, not to diminish, to hurt. But let's go to the other one. Could repeated conflicts in our lives be invitations to recognize something within ourselves that still needs transformation?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like when we have the same situations coming over and over again, it's telling us
Mhm.
that we didn't learn the lesson yet. So it's the same with conflicts, right? If I
Mhm.
keep facing these same conflicts, something is not right. I need to find the root cause and I need
Yeah.
to overcome, right? I think we have a lot of material from Spiritism,
Yeah.
from the books of
Yeah.
Joana de Angelis, right?
I
And
think you remember the same book and the same chapter that I remember that talked specifically about this, isn't it, Leah?
go ahead, Marcia,
No,
share with
no.
us.
We were discussing this is several days ago, not even weeks, about times of consciousness. It's a tiny little book, and one of the chapters speaks to this, right, Leah? Where sometimes we need to look at those areas and hear the questions about repeated conflicts. But Joanna broadens that discussion on patterns? Why do I meet the same people that treat me this way, right? Or classic, why do I get married 100 times and every husband say, complete fiction, folks, is the same, they have the same conflicts, right? What is it that I need to learn? And so the question was quite interesting. It is the other, or is it myself? What is in life itself brings us that, right? Even the example that you brought with Jesus and Peter, which is quite powerful image. He was just protecting. And let's recognize in all of us that moment of violence, right? Whatever that violence may look like. But go ahead, Leah.
No, it's perfect. I love that you are here. You know, was very happy
Thank
when I saw you be my host. Thank you.
you. So, how do we apply? Put away your sword. You start with a sword. So, let's end the sword when someone genuinely hurts or threatens us.
Yeah, the Brazilian medium Chico Xavier was famous to call the water peace,
Yeah.
right? Which when
Yeah.
you want to say something, just
Yeah.
put water in your mouth, and then you'll not be able to say. Many
Yeah.
times we want to, you know, um, not only put away the sword, but we want to take our whole sword and
Yeah.
kill the person even more. But it is the invitation, right? It is, we need to first recognize, okay, if this hurt me, why this
Hmm.
hurt me, right? There is
Yeah.
something for me to look into and heal, right? Because
Hmm.
the problem is not what the other do with us, because we cannot avoid many times what the other do with us, but what we
Hmm.
do with what the person did with us, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how do I react? How do
Yeah.
I let them put me down?
Yeah.
How this can really uh, make me sick. And there are many examples. I even saw examples close to me, how words, how um, you know verbal abuses can really hurt someone.
Yes. Yeah.
Much more sometimes than the physical abuses. Of
Yeah.
course, all types of abuses needs to be, um, you know, combated. We need to. You
Yeah.
cannot admit abuses. So it's why the invitation here is not to uh, accept to be beaten and be quiet. No, no, you need to say, no, no, I do not accept this type of treatment.
Yeah.
I do not accept this type of behavior. I can
Correct.
even go and look for human justice, right? There are
Yeah.
things out there that we know that it can be dangerous for people. It can be a question of life and death. So no, we
Yes.
need to look for changes.
Yeah.
But on this question specifically, why this is hurting you, or why
Yeah.
are you allowing this person to hurt you? You know, look for ways to either leave these toxic relationships
Yeah.
or transform these toxic relationships in something healthier. Sometimes people hurt us without knowing they are hurting us. It's not that because they
Correct.
want to hurt us, it's because the best they can do, you know?
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so this person betrayed me, but it was the best that she or he could do. But why I put this person in such a level, imagine that he or she would never hurt me. So always think about yourself. What can you
Mhm.
do differently not to be hurt, and how to
Mhm.
overcome these types of traumas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important, right? We need to respect, we need to be silenced. And I think it's really important for all of us to be aware what is my sword, right? And so, Leah, thank you. We are at time, but oh, there is another one. I thought we were time, but anyways, let's go to the last and final one. What happens when we use spirituality itself as a weapon, when our beliefs become a reason to judge, condemn, or defeat someone for thinking, or someone who thinks differently? And I think this goes back and back, right? How do we not, how do we react or not? And now, how do we look and identify ourselves with swords that we don't even know? Because, whatever your system of belief makes you so doggedly protective of it. So, Leah, take it away.
Well, the person wrote spirituality, but I will say spiritism, right? Because we
Mhm.
are here. When you get all
Yeah.
this knowledge and you use as a weapon to hurt people, you didn't understand anything, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because the whole idea of that it is to console people, it is to help people, it is to enlighten people,
Yeah.
but it has to be in a very kind way. It has
Yeah.
to be in a persuasive way. You need to exemplify, because
Yeah.
if you are judging, condemning, you are making the same mistakes of the past, the
Different
religious that
swords, right? Different swords, but still the same. Yeah.
the, the dogmatic religions that pushed so many people away of
Yeah.
God, of Jesus. There are many people that cannot even hear about God or about Jesus because
Mhm.
they suffer in the
Yeah.
past under their name, because our fanaticism, you
Mhm.
know, uh, killed in the name of God, in the name of
Yeah.
Jesus. Like I
Yeah.
mentioned in one of my slides about
Yeah.
the religious wars and misunderstanding. So if you are judging, you are condemning, you didn't get right, you need to study again, you need to meditate about these concepts. We are not here to impose. No,
Yeah.
these teachings are primarily for us because we
Yes.
are the ones in need to transform ourselves. And by transforming ourselves, we are going to transform our world, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
No,
thank you
absolutely.
very much for all the
Absolutely.
questions.
Thank you, all of you who sent the questions. And thank you, Leah. It really helps us better explore and understand, um, not just how to seek peace, right? Which we all want, but how to become those instruments of peace. And, St. Francis of Assisi comes to my mind with his beautiful prayer. But, anyways, heartfelt thanks from all of us and to everyone who joined us today for this live talk. Um, we really appreciate you who come week after week, right? And follow our weekly Spiritism Talk series. So, next week, next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Dennis Cz will be exploring the topic Kardec's advice for the age of AI. Leah, would you send a prayer?
Sure, absolutely. Don't miss the talk from Daniel. He's wonderful. So let's all be united in our thoughts, in our feelings, expressing our gratitude for this moment together, for these moments of reflection, for this moment of sharing this beautiful knowledge this invitation that keep coming in our way from different missionaries, different prophets, by our Master Jesus, the collaborative work of spirits, of mediums, of so many spirits that keep inviting us to change, to become better. We all have our guardian angels, our mentors. We can be surrounded by good people in this material world and the spiritual world, depending how we think, how we behave, how we feel. And for our brothers and sisters that are still lost in ignorance, in cruelty, in violence, still imposing their ideas, their beliefs, their thoughts. Let's send then our best wishes for a faster progress, for enlightenment. Let's send vibrations of peace and harmony to these brothers and sisters that do not know yet what we already know, that we are all children of the same God, that we are all united as brothers and sisters in humanity, that it does not matter our colors, our backgrounds, our religion, our nationalities, our gender, our ways of living. We are all brothers and sisters. And Jesus promised that no one will be left behind. We are all invited to follow him because he is our guide. He's the one lightening the way. He's the truth. He's the path. Because it's only true love, the love that he exemplified to us, that we are going to heal the world. Starting with our inner world and then spreading this light around us. Let's be grateful to all the peacemakers, to all the people out there fighting the good fight in a peaceful way for a better world, for better days, for more justice, for more equality, for more love, and then peace will reign here one day. In your name, Jesus, and the good spirits with us this morning, we say thank you, and so be it.